Hey everyone, it's Bill Glenn, CEO of Healthy Home Company, here with the absolutely wonderful, my friend, and our research, our formulation, all the brains behind Healthy Home, Linda Chae. And Linda's going to do some training with you all today, and I think with the background she can provide, and this ongoing training is going to help everybody understand not just the quality of the products that Linda's formulated for Healthy Home, but also the Chae line. Now, there's a reason why Chae Organics is one of our key stores within the Healthy Home portfolio of companies, and that is her brand. And I'm not sure everyone realizes this, but several years ago, we won't say 30 or 20, but Linda was involved in pushing for safe cosmetic legislation. And through her efforts, there was legislation eventually adopted in California. And so in the I guess the do no harm and the toxic-free world, Linda is one of the not only the smartest but very influential people out there. So we wanted both Linda to help us formulate healthy home products just because of the intelligence and the experience and the deep due diligence done on all the ingredients, but also her brand. I think as important as Healthy Home and the brand is, the Chae brand, in conjunction with that is very, very powerful. So if you look at Linda and her bio here on the website, I won't read it. Put it this way, it's like 17 pages long, and that's Frank sitting behind her, and Frank we love, and Frank Ferrari is his name now, so that's what we call Frank from now on.
Frank
So,
Ferrari, there he is.
We'll get you that Ferrari soon, Frank. Let's keep going. All right,
Well,
Linda, so I'm going to let you take over, and I know this is also being recorded by Alira, so I'm going to remove my screen and let you take over front and center. So everyone, Linda Chae.
thank you, my dear friend Billy. Great business partner. I am thrilled to start my webinar series and to be able to provide you education on products and tell you some stories and let you get to know me a little bit better. So because this is our first webinar, I'm going to begin by telling you the story that has changed everything about my life, and it occurred in my early 20s when I had a series of salons, and in those salons I had a clientele of a lot of acne women with acne, yes, but also women with cancer. So the acne that we're going to present later that line comes out of a lot of research on those customers. But what happened way back in the 20s was my mother-in-law had breast cancer. And so as she had a breast removed, and I supported her with her healing process and some of the massaging with the arm that was swollen, I got to know a lot about breast cancer and about the lymphatic system, and she would have me do facials on her. And as I would do facials on her, and I was making products, so when I would be using oatmeal and smearing avocado on her, no problem. I could get slip and slide and get the swelling down. But when I used one of the products that was in my skincare line, a peach day cream, she would always get these hard lumps right here and then underneath her arm and down in this section of her arm. It was her lymph nodes would get hard and clogged. There'd be like a big, round, hard lump that would hurt. And it would happen consistently. Every time we used either one of her, she had some Chanel, she had a whole bunch of different department store products, and or my peach day cream, the same thing would occur. So I started studying, and boy, in the 70s, you didn't have the opportunity of going to the internet. You didn't have the opportunity of Google didn't exist. So to find this information, I started going back to night school, studying cosmetic chemistry, and I had an opportunity to take a class on material safety data sheets. And the process of that class, one of the homework assignments, was to go get 5 material safety data sheets. So I did that on 5 ingredients that were in my peach day cream. Lo and behold, I was so shocked. They were cancer-causing, mutagenic, tumor-causing, penetration enhancers. So all of the things combined is exactly what was occurring in her lymph nodes. Now, I knew ingredients penetrated, but not near to the degree back then of knowing they penetrated into the bloodstream. There was no such thing as toxic-free. Matter of fact, everything was being called natural. It was natural because it existed on planet Earth. It didn't come from Mars. So if it was natural, then we all thought, wow, this is just really good stuff. Well, I had peach day cream. I thought there was maybe even peaches in it. What I didn't know. And so with my cancer clientele, I had some really special clients, partly because my mother-in-law had promoted me, partly because I'd gotten on a television show about how to replace the individual eyelashes that women were needing when they went through heavy chemo back in those days that just stripped your eyebrows and your eyelashes. So I had a large clientele. One of my clients was Edna. And I don't know, she adopted me and I adopted her. And so in all the different times Edna would come to me, I kept saying, the little engine that could, just believe in yourself. Just believe you can cure this cancer. Just believe. That's all you got to do, Edna. Stop being like you're going to die and it's doomsday. No, you can do this. So just one day, she comes in and she's in a wheelchair. And I'm like, Edna, how come you're in a wheelchair? And she rolls over to my salon receptionist. I got to talk to you. She says two things. I have two big favors. One favor is the doctor says I have about 6 weeks left to live. And I'm like, oh, no, Edna. And she goes, yeah, and I want you to do my eyelashes at my funeral, and I want you to do my makeup at my funeral because you should see the director at the mortuary. You don't want me to look like that. Would you please, please? I said, yeah, and I'm crying, and I'm down on my knee, you know, talking to her at the wheelchair, and I said, I will be happy to do that, but maybe there's still a chance. And she goes, it's okay, Linda. The little engine that could can't anymore. And so then she says, but I also want to buy all the peach day cream you have because I deserve to just take a bath in it every day. And I just very honestly, out my mouth came, well, just 2 weeks ago in a class I was taking at the university, I got my material safety data sheets back, and no, you can't buy any of that because there's some potential cancer-causing ingredients in there. And she just looked at me, and I just looked at her, and she goes, she stood up out of that wheelchair because she wasn't crippled. She was just sick and weak. And she stood up and she looked me in the eye and she says, is that why I still have cancer? Is that why my cancer didn't go away? All this time you're telling me about the little engine that could, and then you're giving me cancer-causing skincare? I was just like, oh my gosh, it just cut to the core. And I just said, Edna, I didn't know. And she goes, well, take it out of there. And I said, well, as far as the chemist I've talked to the last couple of weeks, he says you can't make products without these things in it. There is nothing else that exists. She says, I don't believe that. Now you be the little engine that could. Now you go out and make it. You find a way. You find a way to not have people like me get sick and stay sick with things like your products. And I just, Edna, I am so sorry. And she goes, Linda, you didn't cause my cancer. And I know it wasn't your cream. Well, she may have said that to try to make me feel better, but in my deepest heart, I was just mortified that maybe something I did could have caused somebody cancer. So it's still to this day so emotional that that's why I made a vow. I will do no harm. And you can count on it. When we research ingredients to put in the Healthy Home products, the Chae products, any work that we're called upon to do on behalf of the Toxic Free Foundation, or they call and ask for some research, boy, we vet things with a fine-tooth comb. It is our job to make sure we would never do any harm. So it was about 2 months later, I was at that mortuary, and Edna was hard and cold, but boy, she was right there. And I said, I promise, and for the rest of my life, I will absolutely make products that will do no harm, Edna. So I know she's still there helping me. Somehow, she just, like, when we need that breakthrough, we can say a prayer, and she's just one of those special angels that's helping us. So know that you can count on our research. And there is a lot of disparity in research that's out there on the web. Some of the research we're not sure where people make it up, and then where a whole bunch of other people will start quoting those people. But we make sure we don't use anything that could in any way ever be carcinogenic, that could even be comedogenic and cause acne, that could cause irritation. To the very best of our ability, we are one of the most thorough, highly vetted cosmetic factories in the world of making sure nothing is even used in our plant that would harm our employees. So that's why you can count on the work that we do and the ingredients that we say are clean and safe. So that's my story, and I thought with this first webinar, it would be a good, easy, fast place for people to come back and be able to, if you want to hear why I'm motivated, you want to hear what gets me up and driven and on top of this every day, it's Edna, and it's what happened way back when. And yes, as you can tell from my emotion, it will never not be a real core part of what I do. So you're seeing all the Chae products up there right now. What we're going to do is go to the first slide, and I'm looking down at my keyboard here to see, am I in charge of it? Nope, my little keyboard's not working.
You should be in charge.
Yes, I'm in charge?
Yes,
all right. All right, thanks, Alara. I sure appreciate Alara and Katie and the Healthy Home team. Katie created the slide template, but Alara has been working very diligently to create these slides. So for some reason, I guess I'm going to have you do it because I'm not getting the slides. You did. What's acne? All right, let's talk about acne in this seminar, both the problem of what is acne, what should you not do to treat acne, and what are the solutions we've come up with over the years. So the acne is considered a medical condition. It's considered a disease, and so you have to treat it. You can't make an acne claim or use acne on your label if you're not using OTC monographed ingredients. So acne is a disorder that is a lot involved with hormones. Now, why hormones get sometimes misdirected is a more complicated conversation than we're going to go into today. But the whole part of how hormones affect the sebaceous glands and cause them to be essentially overactive. So where a normal oil gland may produce X amount of oil at a time, an overactive oil gland is just producing not only more and more oil, but the stronger you wash your face, the more you strip the skin, the more you use soap and water, the more waxy that oil becomes, the more clogging, the more cork-like in the bottle it is. So when you look at the 4 different problems we can associate with acne, number 1 is the androgen hormone. Androgen is the male hormone, it's the stress hormone. So if we're at all stressed, a teenager gets stressed just with what identity they have in junior high and high school. And so that stress and then exams. And in fact, there's some research out that shows the way a teenager processes stress. Is that staticking coming from my end, Alara? Or no? Okay, you fixed it. Whatever you did, you fixed it, my dear. The whole stress factor for teenagers is actually more difficult on their body than stress is on an adult body until we get older. I don't know how much older people have to get, but someday I'll find out. So the stress factor is the androgen hormone. Number 2, it's the number of dead skin cells that get clogged in the pore. And some people just don't shed the layers and layers and layers of dead skin cells. So using exfoliants, using agents that remove the layers of the dead skin cells is paramount to a good regime that prevents acne and takes acne away. Also, there is an increase in a common skin bacteria, okay, it's not a difficult word, Propionibacterium. So it's often referred to as P. acne bacteria, but this Propionibacterium is a bacteria that grows underground. We're going to go a little bit more in depth about that a little later when we're talking about how to kill that bacteria, because it's a very difficult one. It hides in dark places without oxygen, so way down in the pore that's hard to get to. And then inflammation. So the bacteria is actually the cause of the inflammation. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail too. And here we go. So this bacteria grows, it lives on oil. So the skin's sebum, since there's not that much on the surface, it will find pores and travel down inside the pore to the source of the bacteria. This bacteria also, the body produces an enzyme. The bacteria produces an enzyme to help it chew up or chomp up bacteria. The bacteria is so much smaller than a droplet of oil that the bacteria actually has to have the oil get pre-digested. Well, the enzyme it produces is extremely irritating. Just a small amount of it will cause your skin to turn red all the way around the edges of a pimple, and then the whole pimple swells with the inflammation because of this enzyme. And the enzyme is this inflammation is so strong, it swells so big, it can burst a hair follicle. So the hair that's growing up out of the pores, if you burst that follicle, you now not only have the bacteria, I've had a cold, so I think I'm going to sneeze. That bacteria not only can go all the way up and down the shaft, but once that bursts out from that inflammation, putting so much pressure that the balloon pops, then you've got a cyst over here to the side. And anybody that's had blemishes and that's had acne and goes in and tries to squeeze something and nothing comes out and it just gets bigger and harder, it's because the source or the opening is off to the side of where the big swollen cyst is. So that's another, it's the only bacteria that really has this kind of enzyme and has this kind of power to create inflammation that will burst the hair follicles inside. Also, with the dead skin clogging the surface of the skin, this bacteria just keeps traveling and creating a home that is sealed off from oxygen because it's an anaerobic bacteria. So these slides are going to be here as a part of the seminar. You can always come back and refer to it. If somebody has acne, it's always good to help them understand what is acne, how does it happen, understand the bacteria so that it's much easier to know how to deal with it. All right, so most acne products out there, they strip the skin, they remove that excess oil, because anytime one hears about acne, they hear about the excess oil that goes with it. So the stripping of the skin then just causes more oil to be produced. It's just kind of like, just causes that factory underneath to just generate more and more. There is an excessive dryness that happens with the skin, and with excessive dryness, you've got more and more dead skin flakes that then end up filling in that little bacteria hole. Prolonged anti-inflammatory hyperpigmentation occurs from many products that are out there. The longer you're red, the longer you're swollen, the more chance there is of getting a dark pigmentation spot around the acne. So a lot of people, especially darker skin tones, Italians, they'll get a darker skin tone or a darker pigment because of this. And then they get involved in using skin bleaching products, or sometimes bleaching products are included in acne products. And then that's just a whole nother side effect that one has to deal with. And I might sneeze. Okay, chemicals to avoid. Sodium peroxide, parabens, propylene glycol, imidazolidine, fragrance, and PEGs. You can come back and read more about those or go onto the Toxic Free site to really hear how bad most of these ingredients are. We're going to spend the most time in this on the next slide as we start getting involved with the benzoyl peroxide. You really, really can fight acne without harming your skin. But some of the ways coming up are not the ways to go about doing that. I think I'm going to bend this just a little bit. Okay, so next one. What makes the Acne TX products totally different? Well, first of all, they're a toxic-free alternative, so every single ingredient that's in them cannot cause personal harm to your health or your skin. They're clinically proven. So when you're dealing with an OTC, often you do a full clinical study on the end result, on the final product. We spent over $120,000 to do these clinical studies. So it's a very serious, with doctors, with a large number of people testing. We also bring to the table the Healthy Home Sanitizer with a patent-pending ingredient, sodium chloride. Now, you also currently might see chlorine dioxide on the label because up until recently, that's been the FDA recommended INCI name. But that has just changed, and they want us to use sodium chloride. Both are a very clean, double-based oxygen molecule, and they're very potent. And so what we're going to do when we're talking in conjunction with the product is just describe it as a stabilized oxygen. When we go onto the toxic-free site and we quote a few things from there, you'll see that there's a lot more information that will be able to be shared about chlorine dioxide or sodium chloride. All right, so what the acne products do is they reduce inflammation without drying the skin. They kill bacteria and the candida that's in the pore. Maybe a lot of people don't realize that acne bacteria actually increases the quantity of candida that's in the body, and candida increases the acne. So candida comes about from sugars, soda pops, sometimes a leaky gut, all sorts of health things. Sometimes it's in the one's DNA. They inherit the tendency for those. But even though we inherit the tendency, each of us have the ability to heal certain conditions in the body. Also, we provide an oil-free formula, so we're not contributing oil, but at the same time, we don't dry the skin out. We also really help the skin get rid of those unsightly scars before they develop. So before that scar tissue can knit and twist and create an unsightly spot, the products are actually helping to keep that skin really nice and smooth. So the next slide, we go into, this is good. I was really concerned I may have had too many slides for today. I want to go into the ideal 4-step system that you would use. And all of these products are available on the healthyhome.org website, Healthy Home Company website. So I'm going to also look at my slides here, so my eyes are kind of traveling off point. But the Acne TX Cleanser, what's so wonderful about that is we're using the beta hydroxy acid. Now, beta is much more gentle than alpha. People have heard of alpha hydroxy acids like glycolic acid and really strong acids that will take the dead skin and literally just dissolve it away. Well, the problem with alpha hydroxy acids is they don't know the difference between dead skin and live skin. And if you begin to peel away too many layers of skin, you leave the skin really susceptible to UV radiation. Also, we have little tiny jojoba beads, little micro beads that are able to go right down inside a pore and help cleanse it. So that's step 1. So wash, remove, then spray with the sanitizer. And the sanitizer is what you're going to use as a toner step. And really spray and saturate the skin. You want it to be almost dripping wet. And then you want to allow it to completely dry. During the day, at any time, you can always respray with sanitizer. Ladies or girls, if you're wearing makeup, then you certainly can spray from a distance of about 12 and keep so much from, making your face so wet. But you could spray that sanitizer, keep a little 1-ounce bottle of that sanitizer with you at all times. All right, so we've got the cleanser, then we've got the sanitizer. Let's go back one slide there, Alara. Then we've got the Perfection Serum, and we've got G-Force. So I just want you to see all 4, and then we're going to go into a little bit more detail with each one. So for sure, the Acne Cleanser, then and you should use that twice a day. Sanitizer, spray thoroughly, at least twice a day, but you may want to do more often. Perfection Serum, then always after the sanitizer is dried, you do need to give it long enough to dry. Then you'll follow with Perfection Serum, and then you'll follow with G-Force. And we'll go into the how and the why of each one. But with the G-force. We'll cover that also a little bit more later. We didn't used to have that step, and now we're finding that people get results so much faster just because of the powerful delivery system and how this molecule works. Alara, now that next slide. Okay, so this, I'm going to raise my chair just a little bit. Excuse me. There it is. I think we're going to do that. That's a little bit better. All right. So on this Acne cleanser, you got your scrubbing grains. You've got an OTC maximum level of beta-hydroxy acids, and we use salicylic acid. Now, there's chemical versions of salicylic acid, but salicylic acid is also what's in willow herb. Willow herb was famously started used by the Native American Indians for pain. That's why pharmaceutical companies duplicated it and synthesized it into aspirin. But that same salicylic, a different form of that salicylic acid, a liquid version, is an excellent anti-inflammatory agent and helps dissolve and remove some of the oil, dirt, and debris that's locked down in the pore. All right, step 2. Now we can really start getting into just a little bit more of the sanitizer. We're going to cover this on more than one slide. It's a patent-pending ingredient, sodium chloride. It's a double bond oxygen. So hydrogen peroxide is a double bond oxygen based on hydrogen. But the problem with hydrogen is that it increases inflammation. But for a long time, people have known to pour hydrogen peroxide over a wound at home, and it'll bubble and it'll sizz, and it's the bubble and the sizzing that's causing the inflammation, and it'll kill bacteria. So it used to be a good home remedy for a skin knee, for instance. Well, the sodium chloride is based on a double bond, but with chloride, which is a mineral from the earth. And this same name, chlorine dioxide, doesn't mean it's chlorine like you buy Clorox. It's totally different from that. But the chlorine is a form of salt, and it's a salt-based chloride molecule. So that's your science behind it. All right, it's so small. It's tiny little molecules, and it's capable of penetrating anywhere. I'm going to go into more about that on another slide. So we can leave our outline here, but we'll move to the next slide and go to step 3. You know, I love the Perfection Serum. We've tried many different products as the step that protects the skin and acne. And we chose the Perfection Serum for the Healthy Home regime because we've gotten more testimonials on its effectiveness than almost any other product that we've ever launched. So it helps even out irregular skin tone. It helps remove redness. So several things are happening. It's a high potency vitamin C ester. And this vitamin C ester is very stable. Most vitamin Cs turn dark in the formula, which means as soon as they've oxidized, they're not any good anymore. They just make the product not look good, they don't smell good. But this vitamin C ester is extremely stable, and it's capable of working on oil as well as water systems in the skin. So we need the oil changed by this vitamin C. We need the free radicals removed because the bacteria doesn't want to eat it then. It also then is been tested, and it reduces a dull complexion, which is the dead skin being gone, and it helps improve the evenness of skin tone by 74 to 88%. So that's why a lot of people use it. Now, the Perfection Serum is not limited to just acne skin types. I use it, super dry skin types use it, mature skin types use it. So it's not limited. Men use it. It's just one fast, quick acting serum that provides results within a few days. So we're going to talk about G-Force just a little bit more here. After you have cleansed, toned, let the toner dry, put on the Perfection Serum, given yourself the ability to let it soak in, maybe 15 seconds, now apply the G-Force. G-Force is based on the glutathione molecule. This molecule has got over 80,000 PubMed articles. It's being studied by medical institutions all over the world because it's being found that life and health does not exist without this molecule. And what we've done so different than anybody else out there is we have encapsulated it and kept it away from oxygen so that it doesn't break down, it doesn't degrade, and we're capable of transdermal delivery. So the skin is very capable of penetrating ingredients all the way to where it's needed in the body. And yet, as you use it on an area that's got acne, for instance, or on the back or on the chest, what the glutathione, some is present in every single cell of the body. Some's going to be absorbed by the cells as it passes through, going to other areas in the body. So that's why there's such an immediate response. When glutathione is present, the P. acne bacteria isn't able to reproduce. When glutathione is present, the skin is able to recover so much faster from any condition. But acne is like a wound. It's inflamed, it's open, it's almost like, and especially if it has inflammation that has caused the hair follicle to burst or the oil gland to burst, you've got a major cyst inside the skin. So glutathione is your fast-acting superhero that comes to the rescue. That's why so many people in the Healthy Home Company have come up to me and said, amazing results, just thrilled results. Matter of fact, Alara, could you maybe do something while I'm giving the webinar? We forgot to bring in the testimonial picture, which is what inspired me to do the acne on this webinar. The before and after of the young man. Maybe you could do that and surprise us at the end with that when we're going to talk about testimonials. Okay, so that's your final step. You don't do anything after the G-force. And G-force doesn't like oxygen. So oxygen did its job earlier, but you don't spray oxygen for a good couple of hours after you've put on the G-force. So if you're going to respray it during the day, have it at least be 2 hours later. So those are your details of your regime. Let's keep going into some more details. I'm going to push my thing, but you know, I don't even have the little arrows, Alara, that allows me to go from slide to slide. So I'm dependent upon you, my dear. There you go. Let's look up some information on the Toxic Free Foundation website. You know, every day we're populating that with, I'm seeing the Toxic Free team, not me, but I'm seeing the Toxic Free team populate this website with more and more information. So what we're going to quote on the next slide comes directly from the site. All I did was just pare it down a little bit. So back to you, Alara. If you can give me the ability to push this, that would be good. Wouldn't be so interruptive.
Hey, I have you set up as a moderator, and you should be able to do that, Linda. I'm not sure why it's not working, but I was pulling up that picture that you requested, so sorry, I had to do double duty. But
that's okay. You know what? I'm hitting the arrow button, and I'm hitting, well, I can do it that way, but that wasn't exactly the way we wanted it to go. So, yeah, I'm just not seeing the arrows. You know what? We'll figure this out. This is just our first big rodeo. All right, so let's talk about hormones and xenoestrogens. Since we know hormones is directly involved in acne, we know that they impact the sebaceous gland. We know they cause a disruption. They slow down recovery. But guess what? Xenoestrogens, the word xeno means false or foreign, is in many, many acne products. So how can it be that here, the very fact that it's known that hormones contribute to acne, how can most of the products out there contain xenoestrogens? For instance, if they have a PEG, which was listed on that first page, PEG, the E stands for ethoxylates, but think of them as estrogen, because that's exactly what an ethoxylate process, chemical process does, is it creates a xenoestrogen. All right. Also, xenoestrogens are contributing to birth defects. They contribute to the brain not functioning or memory being as well. Xenoestrogens contribute to speeding up the aging process. So there's many, many culprits involved with xenoestrogens. And the last thing that they should be allowed in is in an acne product. So always you can count on. You'll never find a xenoestrogen in anything that we manufacture or make. Did I do that, Alara? Or did you do that?
It was me.
If I did that, it's working.
It was me.
Oh, okay. All right, so again, we're going to quote this from the Toxic Free Foundation. I just pared down the information so that I made it a lot smaller, a lot littler, easier to read. But it's used in acne treatments, but guess what else? It's used to improve flour. So some of the inexpensive flours you buy out there might have been treated with benzoyl peroxide, and that's not good to get it inside your body that way either. It's used for bleaching hair, bleaching teeth, and it's just used for many things. It's a chemical compound. In 1977, this is a long time that they've known, 76% of the subjects actually acquired a contact sensitivity to it. The longer you use benzoyl peroxide products, the more susceptible you are to becoming sensitive to it. So the skin becomes all over red, it becomes all over irritated, and you stop using the product, acne will come surging back all the faster. So it's almost like puts the skin into a little bit of a coma. Benzoyl peroxide removes so many layers of the skin that it makes the skin susceptible to sun damage. And when you're susceptible to sun damage and UV radiation, there's cancers associated with that, as well as premature aging. So it's almost like there's no hope for people, the majority of people that just don't know this information. Benzoyl peroxide creates free radicals. That interferes with the healing process. And last but not least, benzoyl peroxide has been linked, or there's been studies that have found the carcinogenic potential. It's pretty little slippery conversation right there. If you notice those words, studies have highlighted the carcinogenic potential. Guess what? There's a lot of big money that has stopped those studies from publishing some concrete data out there. I wonder what companies would have vested interests in not having clinical studies on benzoyl peroxide's carcinogenic probabilities be known. All right, so I'll hit my keyboard just to help you know, Alara, to go to the next slide. And I'm sorry I forgot about that picture until halfway into this. All right, another ingredient that we're going to look at on the Toxic Free Foundation that's included in the acne products, but Toxic Free Foundation is not selling a product. So they can make truthful statements about the efficacy of an ingredient. So I love Canadian willow herb, Epilobium antigustifolium. It grows in Canada. It's a beautiful, tall, flowering grass, and it contains bioactive molecules that are non-steroidal but work like a steroid. So these non-steroidals don't have any side effects, yet this incredible grass just does amazing things for the skin. It's known and has been studied and proven to be an antioxidant, an anti-irritant, anti-acne, hyperandrogenic bioactive. Whoa, mouthful. Okay, so this non-steroidal anti-irritant has an amazing benefit within 1 to 2 days on the skin. So you take things like this powerful active along with the glutathione, and that's why people are getting results. A clinical study shows that the Canadian willow herb actually reduces UV-induced skin stress. So if someone wants to be in the sun and they have acne, the sun can be very healing. It just isn't good to be in the sun for maybe more than 10, 15 minutes. But if somebody with acne can get 10, 15 minutes of sunshine a day, perfect. And by using the products, they're going to have less redness that would have occurred from the sun. It's a very interesting molecule, Oenotheum B, and it's the principal bioactive in the Canadian willow herb. So it's like a medicine all in itself. All right, Alara. Okay, that benzoyl peroxide, let's go back. Let's just dive in a little bit deeper. And the problem with this one, we're going to cover it with the picture. I want you to see how those little tiny white molecules at the top of this picture are the benzoyl peroxide. Their molecular size is 20 microns. That's too large to penetrate down in that pore, especially when they agglomerate or they clump together. So the redness, so if we blow that screen up a little bit, and again, there's just something keeping me from having access. All the little red bacteria that's inside those pores, the benzoyl peroxide's not getting to them. It's not reaching the source of the acne. So benzoyl peroxide can also stain the skin, stain clothing. So all of its irritating and proposed benefits ends up having even more side effects. Let's go to our next slide. So one of the things that I'd like to do is compare the two molecules. And I think we lost a little piece of the slide over to the far right side. The average pore on the forehead is about 66 microns. So just to give you a reference for that, a hair follicle is 16. So you got 16, and then you've got 66, so the size of a pore on the forehead. Now, benzoyl peroxide, one molecule, is larger than the size of a hair follicle. And so we're going to hold it about like this in the pore, but as soon as you have 3 or 4 of these molecules together, which occurs in a cream, then they have clogged the pore on top. So let's compare that to number 4 that's on your slide. The oxygen particle is 0.0001 micron, 2,000 times smaller. So 2,000 times smaller is able to penetrate not only easily, quickly through the pore, but that oxygen is able to stay active for quite a length of time and penetrate smaller and smaller caverns down inside the pore. So as an example, if we just gave you, we put an example here of the width of the white stripe on a road. If you have benzoyl peroxide be the, if an oxygen particle is the size of that white stripe on the road, then benzoyl peroxide is 227 miles wide. So you can just see the difference in the size of the oxygen molecule versus a benzoyl peroxide molecule. Huge difference. That's part of why you're getting such a fabulous results by using the sanitizer as a part of this regime. All right, we'll look at the next slide. Here's just a quick one talking about the gentleness that you're going to see and find from the Acne TX products. And if you look at the little bar graph, you see that red line going down. That shows that from when you first start using the product, if you only had the salicylic acid in the product, if you only had one, which was clinically tested in 8 weeks, that's how reduced the redness is. Well, we've now increased that. To me, that was not satisfactory. I was happy that salicylic acid is the opposite of benzoyl peroxide and that it's going to reduce inflammation, not increase it. But I wanted people to get a faster result. So by adding in the vitamin C ester and the glutathione, you see these results so much faster. People see a difference in a week. Okay, next slide. You can always go back and look at these in a little bit more detail, but we're almost at the end, and I want to be able to have a little bit of time if we see some questions. So the clinical study that we conducted, we had the following results. A comogenicity test, and comogenicity is the clogging of the pore. It's the what blocks pores even naturally, let alone having a product do it. So we tested, the products are totally non-comedogenic. We also did a hyperallergenic test and found no allergy-forming properties. We also did an irritation patch test, and you can only rate the lowest one as mild, and so this came in as mild. Inflammatory acne improved significantly, and the appearance of pores were smaller and smaller and smaller as the people used this product, and the evenness of skin tone and long-term erythema was improved. So here's just another way of looking at some of those results from the study. On the next slide. Boy, our practice yesterday, we did all this practice, Alara, and I'm still needing to depend on you to move my slides. Okay, my dear. There you go, Alara. Thank you. So here is after just 8 weeks, 79.2% of the people saw a reduction in the redness. The average reduction area that was reduced was 32%. So the size of the redness came down by 1/3. And the study was done on 24 people. I think you can go just a little faster on the click through here. Thank you. The 42, then we had 42 people in a study, and 3 times, there was a 3x said it improved their acne. So their acne was reduced by 3 times. And then there was a 6x, as many said, it reduced redness associated. So there was just lots and lots of benefits. We'll pop through this one and go to the next slide. But you can just see that the clinical study proved it. You know, at the end of the day, a clinical study doesn't matter. What matters is when you see a happy child like this. Alara, you saved the day. You went and got it. So this dear young man, and his mom showed me his picture when I was in Orlando a couple weeks ago, and he just suffered. I mean, his acne was painful. It actually hurt to touch. It hurt to be able to even wash his face. And here he is, just a little while after using the acne regime, and they had tried everything. So there's not a product that they hadn't tried, and nothing worked. So the before picture was not that long ago, before he started the acne cleanser, the sanitizer, the perfection serum, and the glutathione. So I look at his big happy smile, and it sure does make me smile. I know the picture of him with the acne was a few years ago, but I guess the acne had not gotten any better. But that was the before picture that she had. But he is a few years older here. And I think this took, I don't know, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks. So thank you for that testimonial. You know, we would love to hear from you. Have you give us your testimonials, have us give you your questions. So I don't know if we've got questions that people have been dropping in, and if we want to just, we're right at our time for our webinar, if we want to close, or if we want to see if there's even just one question we could handle today.
So it's not necessarily about acne, but we did have someone ask if glutathione can help get rid of skin tags. I know that that's something that a couple of people have asked.
All right, yes. The answer is yes. A skin tag is a growth of skin that's just abnormal. It's not abnormal like it's cancer. It's just it's an irritated cell, often from necklaces or jewelry, or a place where some piece of clothing regularly rubs. And so that the glutathione should be applied in that area, and it should be applied twice a day. You don't even need a full pump sometimes. You just need the smallest amount. So we can take some, and I can show you what we would talk about. You don't even need a full pump. Just a little bit right on. I used to have them. I don't have them anymore. So right on that skin tag. And that means you can do it 2 to 3 times a day, because you're not even doing a full pump. Just know that one pump represents 1/4 of the dose that's recommended. So even though I were to take, I'm going to put this on my liver, it's still going to help that skin tag. But the skin tag is going to benefit from a direct application. So the answer is yes, and it's because we're keeping the glutathione molecule alive and active. It's not being degraded by oxygen. You might smell some of the sulfur that is part of the complex, but that just means you're smelling something that's very powerful that's inside this product. It's just part of its molecule. By the way, we're going to have a fun call coming up just on the glutathione because they are in the process of selling out, and then we're going to get to talk about the new packaging. But after this sells out, I have the sanitizer here, so I'm not going to put sanitizer where I put the glutathione, but anytime during the day that I want to refresh or de-stress, I've got my sanitizer handy, and I didn't pull up the products, but any questions on the products or anything else that?
Yes, we've got a whole queue that's coming in now. So does it take longer, was one of the questions, on darker skin to even out when you're using products?
Yes, the reason is because you could, the darker the skin, the more quantity of melanocyte molecules you're producing. So you may have 10, 15 times the number of melanocyte molecules that I have. Some people might have 3,000 times the melanocyte molecules as I have. I don't have very many. I don't even go in the sun and get tan very well. So the more you have, the more of those molecules have to be smoothed out and evened out. Brown spots occur when one spot on the skin is irritated. So it can be irritated from acne, it can be irritated from using hairspray, having a chemical fragrance land on the skin. It can be irritated from a sun damage and getting a little blister once upon a time, and that skin still is sensitive. So when that area is irritated, you've got a massive production, like hyperactive spastic action of melanocyte cells producing that. We're back to that, the sound with the molecule, the microphone. Is that just me that hears that, or is that you?
It's probably because I'm unmuted, so when I do any action on the keyboard, you hear that. So I was clicking through the questions. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, the next question was, how are the products with rosacea? Does it have any impact on that?
Yes. Rosacea doesn't have the P. acne bacteria, but it has a virus that is also assisted greatly by the products and the sanitizer that is going to do a great job on what's occurring in the rosacea at the level of the capillaries. So rosacea is not just on the surface of the skin, and it's not in the pores. It's along the capillaries where the blood is brought into the. So yes, glutathione is a fabulous molecule for that. I would suggest one go out and Google glutathione and rosacea, and you will see that rosacea will not occur if glutathione levels are normal and healthy in the body. But there's a lot of things that reduce glutathione. Stress, age, some people's DNA, they just don't produce as much. Smoking, various chemical exposures, heavy metals can reduce the level of glutathione because it's gotten such as flypaper as to stick to lots of it. So that's going to be probably your number one source more than the other three products, but I would use the whole regime.
The next question is about storing the sanitizer. Can you store the sanitizer in a clear container? For example, if they wanted to give it to someone else as a sample for them to try, is there any concern about it being in a clear container?
Yes, you cannot store the sanitizer in a clear container or in heat. It is very sensitive to light. So this double bond oxygen breaks apart as soon as you have it exposed to light. So your best way is to have your 1 ounce and have your 4 ounce. You can always downsize some of your 1 ounce, leave just a little bit. I don't happen to have a 1 ounce here in my office, but you can leave a little bit in the bottom and give it to somebody to sample. So that's how I would suggest that you best sample. Or you do the puppy dog technique, and that is you give it to them and tell them that they need to give it back to you at church the next Sunday or the next time you see them, or they need to get it back to you in a couple of days. And if they want to keep it, then they can buy it from you. So there's several ways of doing the sampling.
And then we also, for the regime, had
Thank you for that question. I really want everybody to know that.
Agreed. I think that's great information. The next question is the use of the perfection serum. So is that something that they would use twice a day as well, or is it just once?
Very important to do the entire regime twice a day. And the perfection serum, you can only reduce the inflammation and be reducing the melanocyte cells so much at a time. So you're not going to hurt by doing the regime 3 times a day. We just know that most people don't have the time for that. But at night, at the end of the day, wash the day away with that cleanser, wash the pollution away, and then first thing in the morning, again, wash, sanitize, perfection serum, and the glutathione. If you're just using perfection serum, absolutely, still do it twice a day. If you're doing it on the back of the hands or arms for brown spots, you can do it up to 5-10 times a day if you keep it right there on your desk or keep it handy. Won't hurt. It'll do good all day long.
So this is more of a comment, and you can answer this question or not, Linda. I'll leave that up to you. But we had one of our listeners comment on the fact that you are so beautiful and youthful looking, and they were wondering if you would be willing to at least give a ballpark of how old you are.
Oh, actually, I usually do share my age. I'm 64. So I'm 64 going on 54. So I have gone and had some tests, and I'm biologically more like 54. So I think it just shows when you do not just regular wonderful skincare products, because that's obviously a key, but you get the toxins out of your system. And it's a long, slow process. So we're constantly exposed to toxins. And by reducing those in my body, I have a body that's acting and functioning in the early 50s. So how about that? A woman that's willing to tell her age. It's part of my do no harm. I just swore to not tell lies, so I don't play around with that one either.
Well,
even though I don't want Billy to know how old I am because I have a crush on him.
We are running out of time, but I do have a couple more questions that I wanted to run by just because I thought that they were good for people to hear. So one was a question about the concerns with the bacterial
resistance. And Linda, this is Bill.
Bill, you didn't hear that,
Linda,
did you?
Bill. Oh,
I know you just think I'm 19.
Listening all along.
Oh, Billy.
I'm gonna jump as well. I just wanted to say goodbye to everybody, and Linda, that was absolutely fantastic. I'm really, really, really impressed with all that information. I didn't even know some of that, and that's surprising. So that is great, and why we love Linda Chae, everybody. We're so happy, Linda. I mean, I can't even say how happy we are to have you so close to our family, and that's personal and professional. So love you, Linda. See you, Frank. Tell Frank I said goodbye.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye, Lara, and bye, everyone. And please send us in your questions. Send us in your testimonials and give us permission if we have, if we can use your testimonial with your name, and if we can use your photos, your before and after photos with your name. Just always make sure you include that. And register again for the next webinar. Oh, have we got an exciting agenda, but it's still a secret, so we're not going to tell you what it is today, but we'll send you an email. Take care, everyone. Be healthy and do no harm.
And for everyone that's joining us, just a reminder, if you want to share your testimonials, you can send them to testimonials@healthyhomecompany.com. And we're also helping out a little bit with Linda Chae's social media channels as well. So you can find her on facebook.com/Linda Chae Organics, or you can check out Chae Organics Facebook at facebook.com/Chae Organics. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.